Everyone likes to be a little rebellious at times, but some of the little passive-aggressive acts of rebellion people carry out to beat the system are impressive enough that they should consider it as a profession. From hilarious rule breakers to the riskiest outfit ever worn to work, let's check out genius people who beat the system. Amazing! When rules can't be broken, people will find a way to bend them instead. Like this group of merrymakers in Brazil enjoying a slightly elevated drink after local legislatures made it illegal for bars to set out tables on the sidewalk. Hey, they're not technically on the sidewalk, they're above it. So crack me open a cold one, I'll be right up. Next up, we have this colorful spread. After their landlord prevented them from painting the walls of their apartment, the tenants got creative. They plastered the walls in paint strips, giving everything a splash of color, providing an excellent conversation starter and all within the bounds of the tenant's agreement. When raising little rule breakers of your own, you've got to show them how it's done firsthand. That's precisely what this dad did when he told his kids to draw him laying down. 15 minutes of easy, silent distraction is just about enough time for a nap. Maybe even longer if the pictures are colored in. This next up-and-coming threat to the establishment has learned the ways of the rebel well and made her mother proud in doing so. Sharing the image on Twitter, Valerie Shrimp Hahn revealed how her daughter had taken an old lip balm tube and filled it with cheese to eat in class. So next time someone tries to tell you there's no eating allowed, tube-based snacks are the way forward. More classroom hijinks now, with one student's solution to only being allowed to take one side of paper's worth of notes into a test. The beauty of gluing your double-sided sheet of notes into a Mobius strip is that it technically only has one side. And as the saying goes, technically correct is the best kind of correct. But best of all, when this picture was posted online, one internet user shared their own tale of examination rebellion against a one-side-only rule. Someone in their class wrote an entire page of notes in red pen, then another page's worth on top in blue. They showed up to class with an old pair of 3D glasses and put their plan into motion. Whenever they looked through the red lens, all the red text was filtered out, leaving only the blue, and vice versa for the blue lens. With a full 2 pages available to the nifty-minded student, according to the original poster, the teacher was so impressed by the ingenuity, they allowed it to be used. On to a slightly lazier form of rule bending now, which came about after a class of students were asked to write a resume and cover letter for a superhero as homework. While many pupils likely had a blast writing action-packed employment histories, one student went the easy route. They chose Groot. Choosing a character famous for saying 3 words only, the student demonstrated high proficiency in the copy and paste functions, if nothing else. Twitter user KittyCatTwitch learned she had a rebel in the family after she asked her grandpa why so many of his books were wrapped in duct tape. His response? I taped the cover so it looks like a Bible and I can read it during church. Pure genius with a healthy sprinkling of blasphemy. Sometimes bending the rules can save lives. There's no better example of this than Doug Lindsay, who was bedridden for years with an undiagnosable disease. After countless consultations, doctors had effectively given up any hopes of him getting better. Determined not to let himself die, Doug began reading all kinds of books on disease and the human body. He eventually became somewhat of an expert, despite having no degree, and eventually delivered a presentation about his illness at a medical conference. But to give more legitimacy to his ideas, he presented himself not as a patient, but as a man of science. With his impressive self-taught knowledge, he was able to convince people to help him study and possibly even treat his unusual disease. Doug was successful in both regards, and he pioneered the development of an entirely new surgery to treat his disease. The surgery removed the inner regions of his adrenal gland, which, as his disease had been found to be caused by excess adrenaline, changed his life completely. No longer bedridden, Doug now gives speeches and works as a medical consultant, and all because he was bold enough to take a unique approach after the system had given up on him. In a slight change of direction now, sometimes bending the rules can simply expose some pretty serious flaws in a system, like when YouTuber Josh Peters decided to set up a fake restaurant account on a popular food delivery app. Surprised at how easily it could be done, with little in the way of authentication or quality checks, Josh soon found himself inundated with orders. Only the restaurant's meals were actually microwave meals purchased from the supermarket below Josh's apartment, hastily heated in Josh's microwave, and resold with massively inflated prices. Passing meals between Josh's apartment and the delivery cyclist below, the crazy adventure proved how alarmingly easy it is to play the system of online food. With their point made though, Josh and his pals did the right thing and returned all the money to customers. Always good to stay classy when you play the system. A similar case occurred in 2019 when journalist Simon Doherty conned his way into 3 music festivals in 3 days without buying a single ticket. How? By the power of a few costumes and a whole lot of confidence. Simon located the staff entrances of each festival grounds and approached them in suitable attire, waving fake wristbands and lanyards as needed. His bag full of costumes included everything from high-visibility jackets to aprons and even a pair of old headphones for when he wanted to imitate a DJ. With the power of confidence, Josh showed just how easy it is to get into events for free. So instead of buying event tickets, maybe it'd be wiser to invest in a hard hat, a clipboard, and some high-vis clothing. For some people, being able to do your own thing unrestricted by nonsensical rules is an important part of being polite. That's exactly what the Crown Prince of the Malaysian state of Johor had in mind when he was criticized for the friendly act of shaking hands with women. His critics thought his behavior was an unsuitable way for a man to interact with women, something the prince in turn found utterly ridiculous, and he responded appropriately. He released a video of him abiding by these ridiculous new rules with top-level passive aggression to make a mockery of his critics, with Hulk hands, the best and only way to ridicule someone to their core. Taking a step back in time now, there are few more symbolic acts of beating the system than escaping prison. And throughout the 1800s, for Australian bandit Joseph Johns, prison breaks were kind of his thing. Joseph made so many escape attempts, many of which were successful, that the government had to build a special escape-proof cell to hold him. The prison governor was so confident in his new construction he was heard to say to Joseph, "If you get out again, I'll forgive you." And well, he got out again by chipping away at his cell wall Shawshank Redemption style. Unsurprisingly, when they finally found him a few years later, he was not forgiven. Going stateside now, where many people are familiar with the tall tales of lumberjack Paul Bunyan and the statues of the giant that dot rural America roadsides. But while most are seen carrying Bunyan's iconic axe, this one is a little different. That's because the statue's owners, the House of Doors in Connecticut, home to the largest selection of doors in the USA, in case you were wondering, had to modify theirs. With local laws prohibiting advertising statues so close to the road, the House of Doors got around the dilemma by replacing Bunyan's axe with a flag. Now they can legally call the statue a flagpole, an object which is allowed pretty much anywhere. The American love of red, white, and blue knows no bounds. Sometimes when it comes to playing the system, if you can, you might as well. That's the smart mentality one Twitter user adopted when she and her partner faked a proposal to get a free dessert at a restaurant. It worked like a charm and proves that a plastic wedding ring should definitely be added to any system beater's bag of costumes. And why limit those costumes to physical outfits? This wildcard made a virtual suit to be used as a filter on video calls, which for its designer meant no longer having to put on a shirt on video calls to his boss. It's kinda genius, but in the event that it fails for even a millisecond, the boss is going to see a sight that neither of them wanted to be shared. On to something less hairy now, with this purple-clad young lady who responded with some malicious compliance when she was told she couldn't step on the grass to pick flowers. There's no arguing, I mean, her feet are clearly on the path. With troublemaking kids like that around, it's no wonder gardeners like this are being kept busy. But the usual system of fill up watering can, water garden, fill up can again has been totally flipped on its head by this ingenious fellow. Having created something that's equal parts water fountain and functional time saver, I think this guy might be better suited for a career designing Rube Goldberg machines. Some kids make gardeners' lives easier by staying inside and playing video games. But one kid's mama had grown tired of seeing her son wasting a beautiful summer's day inside gaming, so she gave him instructions to go play outside, which she interpreted a little creatively. It's not perfect, but at least he'll get some vitamin D to fuel his kill streaks. This fellow took an equally interpretive approach to baggage check-in, having clearly grown tired of paying ridiculous prices to store luggage in the hold. With the help of a carefully placed foot to lift his bag and lower the registered weight, his future seems destined for even greater heights than the flight he's about to board. But not all system breakers work solo. Some attempts to beat the system require a united effort. That kind of rebellious unity was seen in China by kids stuck under quarantine whose homework was being assigned through an app. The students realized that if they flooded the App Store page with enough negative reviews, they could have it pulled from the App Store. And no app, of course, meant no homework. So quarantine kids from several districts united, flooding the App Store page with over 15,000 one-star reviews in one day. Amazingly, the kids were able to drop the app's rating from 4.9 to 1.4 overnight. But sadly for them, and gladly for the app's developers, it wasn't quite enough for the app to be removed. Not all attempts to beat the system are successes, but this one was certainly a valiant effort, and worthy of recognition. From a failure to an incredible success now in the form of this group of Iranian soccer fans enjoying themselves at Azadi Stadium in Tehran. What's so rebellious about these guys? Well, according to the Iranian law, none of these men should have been in the stadium in the first place. Why? Because women aren't allowed to attend soccer games in Iran, and those dudes are actually girls. In pretty convincing disguises, they managed to sneak themselves into a Persian Gulf Pro League match undetected. Considering Iran's famously extreme punishment for this type of thing, I think these amateur drag stars can be safely named boldest system beaters of the year. Congrats, ladies. Gentlemen. Hey look, someone scored! What's the best way you've outsmarted the system? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.